haven't even started filming and I'm already a sweaty mess. Hi guys, it's Danielle and today I'm going to be talking about all of the books that I read in summer. So when I started this channel, I decided instead of doing monthly wrap-ups that I would do seasonal wrap-ups. I felt like it would just kind of work better for me because one, I don't read a hell of a lot of books each month. I usually average about 5-6 books. It'll just kind of depend on how crazy life is and that kind of thing. And two, because I only post once a week, I didn't really want to be uploading a wrap-up like literally pretty much every other video. So this kind of gives me more opportunity to create new and different content, but also still do some wrap-ups every now and then. So yeah, but obviously because I'm wrapping up a whole season in one go, it means that there are still quite a lot of books that I'm going to be talking about. I read 17 books in summer and I'm pretty happy with that. I mean, it wasn't like it's not like a huge amount or anything, and I've definitely had busier seasons and busier months of reading. Summer is pretty busy here in Australia, like it's Christmas and then like New Year, and then it's just obviously got a little bit busy with work because it was like school holidays and stuff, so it's just been kind of all over the place, and so I'm pretty happy with the amount of reading that I've managed to get done. But with that, I'm gonna just jump straight into it because otherwise we're gonna be here forever and I do not want that because there are quite a lot of books to talk about. So let's get started. Don't know what that is anyway. First book that I read in summer was Shiny Broken Pieces by Sonia Charipotra and Danielle Clayton. This is the sequel to Tiny Pretty Thing, and if you are unaware, the first book is about 3 very different girls that go to a school for ballet, and there is a lot of bitchiness, a lot of drama, very entertaining but also quite dark. They talk about eating disorders and drug use and just bullying as well, I guess, and just bitchiness, and they get very competitive and very destructive as well. And so this follows on from the last book, which obviously I'm not going to spoil, but I did enjoy this one. Just I love the drama and the how dark it gets. Like when I went into the first book, I just did not expect it to be so dark when it's like talking about ballet, but as well as all of this drama and bitchiness and kind of destructive behavior from some of these characters. We also saw a bit of growth and character development and some friendships built. So I really liked that, and I ended up giving this book 4 stars. The next book that I read in summer was Lady's Guide to Petticoats and Piracy by Mackenzie Lee. This is obviously kind of the sequel / spin-off to Gentleman's Guide to Vice and Virtue, which I read in 2017 and loved it. It was definitely one of my favorites of the year. It was so much fun. So I was expecting fairly good things from this book and was a little bit disappointed. It definitely wasn't as good as Gentleman's Guide was. I did enjoy like the premise and the whole like kind of little bit of adventure that went along with it, but I found it a little bit boring, and I kind of saw a lot of similarities with Felicity, the main character in this book, and Audrey Rose from Stalking Jack the Ripper. Both characters are from the same kind of time period where women are mostly just there to look good and they don't really do anything. Both characters are wanting to branch out and try and get into science and medicine. There's a lot of similarities between the two, but I absolutely love Audrey Rose. I found Felicity a little bit annoying at times, so I ended up giving this one a 3.5 stars. The next book that I read in summer was Boneless Mercies by April Genevieve Tucholk. This one I had really high hopes for. I mean, it's about 5 women that go around like assassinating people, so it sounded super awesome, but this book was really boring and I did not have a great time with this book, unfortunately. I don't know what it was, it just wasn't very engaging. I think it might have just been the way it was written, or just I listened to this on audio, so it might have just been the narrator that read the audiobook. Lacked action and just didn't really feel like anything was really happening, and when stuff was happening it was kind of just like, ah, okay, this is happening, cool. Like it didn't really grab me or anything, so I ended up giving this one a 2 stars. The next book that I read in summer was Undying by Amy Kaufman and Megan Spooner. This is the sequel and conclusion to the Unearthed duology, obviously the first book being Unearthed. I read Unearthed in 2017 and really enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun. It was full of action and adventure and mystery, and it was just really entertaining. So this is the sequel, and I was very excited to read it, but it unfortunately felt a little flat with me. I still enjoyed it, don't get me wrong, and I enjoyed the characters a lot and their relationship, but I found this story kind of lacked what I loved in the first book, which was all the action and drama and mystery. But I did enjoy it still, and I do have a full spoiler-free review of this book up on my blog, so I will leave that linked below if you are interested in more of my thoughts. Ended up giving this one about, I think, a 3.5 stars. So the next book that I read was a graphic novel, and it was Aquicorn Cove by Katie O'Neill. This was such a cute story about our coral reefs and how to protect them, and that they need protecting, but also had like magical elements in it. And I just am obsessed, so obsessed with this art style. I love her art style so much. It's so cute and colourful and lovely, and just, I mean, obsessed. I really enjoyed this. I think it was such a cute book. I think I ended up giving it 4 stars, and I think it's just, it'd be such a great book to kind of read with like a child, just to kind of get them to know a little bit about coral reefs and that they need protecting, and that we're kind of fucking them up a lot because we as humans are fucking horrible. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was adorable, and again, love the art style. It was just a really cute but also informative read. The last book that I read in December was actually a book that I DNF'd, and that was The Bear and the Nightingale by Catherine Arden. Yes. I had such high hopes for this book. I mean, everybody that has read it absolutely loves it, and don't get me wrong, the writing style was really beautiful, but I just couldn't get into this. I listened to this one on audiobook, but it was just super boring. I just was not connecting to the characters or anything. It was not the book for me, and I just couldn't get into it. So basically I just gave up, and I was like, I just don't want to waste my time on it because I'm just not enjoying it. So yeah. But yeah, they're all the books that I read in December, which I didn't mention before jumping into those, but yes, I read them in December. Moving on to January, I read 5 books. Not a lot of books, but there was a big chunky book in there that took up most of my reading time, and it was wonderful, and I was just kind of taking my time reading it because I was enjoying it a lot. So like, it was fun. Like, I'm still happy with the amount of books that I read in January because I started out hella solid. The first 3 books that I read in January, and obviously the start of the year, I had 2 5-star reads and 1 4 stars, so I was starting the year off with a bang. It was just a great time. But anyway, let's get into the books. Yes. I think the heat is starting to get to me a little bit. So good. The first book that I read in January was Sadie by Courtney Summers. I listened to this one on audiobook, and it is probably the best audiobook that I have ever listened to. Now, I listen to quite a lot of audiobooks. I like to listen to an audiobook whilst I'm also reading a physical book. And I highly recommend, if you want to pick this book up, to listen to the audiobook. It was amazing and so good. It's so good. Oh, Sadie is a girl whose sister was murdered, and she's basically out to seek revenge for her sister and wants to pretty much kill the person that murdered her sister. The audiobook has multiple narrators, and it has different types of narration as well. Like, there's phone calls and interviews, and just It's so good. It was just amazing. Honestly, I don't think I would have enjoyed this book as much if I read the physical book. So I highly recommend picking up the audiobook if you're wanting to read this book. I gave this book 5 out of 5 stars. Really hope there's going to be a sequel. I really want to know what happened after everything in this book. Just please do yourself a favor and read this book. More specifically, just listen to the audiobook. Amazing. Amazing. The next book that I read was actually a graphic novel. It was Heartstopper by Alice Oseman. This one was sent to me from Hachette, Australia, and I really enjoyed this one. It was adorable. I gave this one 4 stars. It was adorable. The art style is super cute, and the relationship between the two is really, really cute. I'm definitely wanting to know what's going to happen in volume 2, and I definitely want to get my hands on it whenever it comes out. But it was lovely and a lot of fun and just a really quick, easy read. And it was just, did I mention it was cute? Because it was really cute. The next book that I read was another 5-star read for me, and I mean, it shouldn't surprise you guys. It didn't surprise me that it was a 5-star read, because I mean, this author has literally my heart. She has my soul locked in a cage. I will buy literally all of her books in this world and will be reading them until I'm probably 80 years old, because I'm sure she will still be bringing out new books until I'm 80 years old, and I will be there in store, or I'll be waiting at my mailbox for the book to come so that I can start reading it as soon as it comes out. I'm actual literal trash, and I'm not even mad about it. Yeah. Queen of Air and Darkness. I mean, like, are you guys shocked? No. You shouldn't be. It was damn amazing, okay? Like, I'm not just giving it 5 stars purely because I'm actual trash for Cassandra Clare. It was actually a damn good book. Such a good ending to an amazing trilogy. If you haven't read The Dark Artificers, I highly recommend. Amazing. Definitely her best work. I don't know if it's my favourite of the series, of all of her series, because Mortal Instruments was the series that got me into reading. Like, it's always gonna have like a place in my heart. I loved this story and I loved where it went. I honestly have just given up trying to guess where Cassandra Clare's books are gonna go, because I can never predict what's gonna happen. Never. Like, she's just absolutely amazing. Her writing is just phenomenal. I honest to God don't know how she does it and how she creates such unique, original, crazy worlds and settings and storylines. It just blows my mind. I'm in absolute awe of her writing and her skills. But yeah, this book was amazing. I am obsessed with the Blackthorns. They are just such a beautiful family and I love them all to death. I loved these characters, I loved the story. I can't not gush about it. I will have a review coming up. Hopefully it's up by the time this video goes up, and if it is, it'll be linked below. But if it's not, just kind of keep an eye on my blog. It'll be up there hopefully soon. It was supposed to be up like last month, but shit happens. 5 out of 5 stars. Easily 5 out of 5 stars. The next book that I read, I listened to the audiobook of, and it was The Unexpected Everything by Morgan Matson. This book was enjoyable. It was fun and cute, and you know, Morgan Matson books are summery, cute reads. I liked this one because it kind of felt a little bit relatable. The main character has no idea what she's doing with her life, and like, same girl. Same. I didn't really have much else to say. Like, it was cute, it wasn't amazing, but I did enjoy it enough to finish it, and yeah, cool. I think I ended up giving this one 3.5 stars. Do you fit? Oh, that's satisfying. The last book that I read in January was 4 Seconds to Lose by K.A. Tucker. This book I was supposed to read last year, but didn't. And so I was like, I need to read it, so I'm just gonna read it in January. So only like a month late, yeah, kinda. Basically, this is just a new adult romance about a guy that owns a strip club and a new stripper that has just been employed. And it was a lot of fun. There's a lot of sexual tension, which I'm all for. What I like about these books is that they're not just romances. They've got like real life problems, and there's a lot of other stuff going on in the story. There's a lot of drama and emotions, and it gives you a lot of feels, but they're super easy to read still, and you just fly through them. So they're like such great reads if you're just wanting something quick, easy, but that'll also still pack a punch. And this book did that. I gave this one 4.5 stars. I really enjoyed it. Moving on to February. February was an okay reading month. I participated in the Contemporaryathon, which I'll leave my videos for that down below. I was pretty impressed with my efforts for the Contemporaryathon. Actually, I pretty much just read contemporaries in February and one non-contemporary. But in saying that, I was also trying to read Priory of the Orange Tree during February, and that book is damn huge, like, so I'm still reading it, but yeah, I still managed to read 6 books in February, and these were the books. The first book that I read in February, and the most disappointing book that I will probably read this year, was Red Rising by Pierce Brown. Oh, where do I start? There was just a lot of shit going on in this book, and it was super confusing, and I honestly had such high expectations and they were not met at all, and I was so disappointed. I'd listened to this on audiobook, and I was listening and just kind of like sitting here like, surely this book gets better. Is this literally the same book that everybody fucking loves? Because what the actual fuck is going on? I'll try and like kind of very briefly sum up some of my thoughts for this book. I felt like there was literally like 2 completely separate stories just merged into one. Like, we started off with this whole story for revenge, and like I was like, yeah, cool, this is gonna be awesome, and it started off okay, and then it completely flipped and we went to like this completely other story, kind of like Hunger Games, and it would every now and then kind of reference the beginning of the book and that kind of world that the main character lived in, but it was like this completely different fucking story. It was like it transported into this new world, and I was like, what the fuck is going on? It was such a drastic change, and I was just super confused. And like, they were like playing this kind of game. They were just playing it so like Hunger Games, like life or death, but it didn't feel like it was supposed to be life or death to me. Like, I just felt like it was just a game, and like it wasn't, like they were taking it way too seriously. Like, I don't know what the fuck the point of it was, I guess. It just seemed so unnecessary. Like, I just did not understand it. Kind of going into that, the main character, stuff happens, he's a red in the which is like a lower class in the beginning of the book, and then shit happens and he like disguises himself as a gold, which golds are like top of the society. He didn't just disguise himself as gold, he basically turned into this whole different character, and I was like, these characters have no similarities at all. It's literally like I'm reading from a different person's perspective. Like, it wasn't like he was the same character at all. He very rarely referenced anything from his previous life. Like, every now and then he'd be like, oh, I'm doing this for this person, and I was like, but are you though? Like, really? It was kind of just like the reasons that he became a gold were kind of just like all washed away, and he was just like, cool, I'm a gold now, I'm just doing all this shit because what the fuck? Like, it was so confusing. I mean, I was expecting it to be super sci-fi, and like it's set on Mars, but it felt more dystopian than sci-fi. I was very disappointed, okay? I just was so disappointed. I'm sorry, that was probably a long ass rant, but I was just very disappointed with this book. It was just not at all what I was expecting, and it was very disappointing, unfortunately, and I don't think I'm going to continue with the next book. So let's move on, shall we? The next few books I read for the Contemporaryathon, so if you saw my vlog slash wrap up, then a lot of these books I have already talked about, but I'll try and keep it fairly short and sweet. The first book that I read in the Contemporaryathon was The Kiss Quotient by Helen Hoang. I absolutely loved this book. I gave this book 5 out of 5 stars. I gave Red Rising 2 stars. And that's probably fairly generous of me. Moving on. I loved the relationship between the two characters. It was so much fun. Loved the romance and the sexy times. I listened to the audiobook and flew through it. I listened to it in 2 days. Could have easily finished it in 1 day, but I wanted to kind of drag it out a little bit. But yeah, loved it. Definitely recommend if you're wanting a super fun, steamy romance. Yeah. Next book that I read was What I Like About Me. This book was sent to me from Pen Macmillan, Australia, and this is basically a summer romance, but it's set in Australia. There are actually not a lot of summer romance books that are set in Australia, so I was super keen to pick this one up. I ended up giving this one 4 stars. I really enjoyed it. It was just kind of like your typical cutesy summer romance, but it also focused a lot on body positivity and self-love, and I really, really loved that aspect of it. And it was just a really, really quick, easy read. It was a lot of fun, perfect for a readathon, perfect read for summer. It was great, and I did really enjoy this one. The next book that I read was also a part of the Contemporaryathon, and it was Check Please by Ngozi Ukazu. This is another graphic novel. I didn't enjoy this one as much as I thought I was going to. I was expecting a lot more romance, and there wasn't a lot of it. There wasn't a real build-up of the relationship either within it, which was kind of disappointing. Like, they were just kind of friends and like in the same hockey team, and then all of a sudden they're kissing and they want to be together. I really hate when that happens in books, so I was a little bit disappointed with that, but I still did enjoy it. I think I ended up giving it 3 stars. I'm definitely intrigued to see what happens in the second volume, but yeah, I was a little bit disappointed with that one. The next book that I read, I listened to the audiobook of, and it was On the Come Up by Angie Thomas. I actually really loved the audiobook for this one. Because this book is about Brie, who is an aspiring rap artist. I actually got to hear what the raps would sound like through the audiobook, so that was really cool, instead of just like reading them and like reading them completely wrong, you know what I mean? Brie, the main character, did get on my nerves a little bit. She was very, very stubborn, so a lot of the time I was kind of just like, I really did enjoy it. I loved the story. It wasn't as good as The Hate You Give, but like The Hate You Give is just on its own level, just way up here. But I still did really enjoy it, and I'm definitely going to keep reading whatever Angie Thomas writes. I really enjoy her writing and what she writes about. This still talked about issues, but that wasn't like the central focus as it was in like The Hate You Give. But yeah, I did really enjoy this one. I gave it 4 stars, and I was also sent this copy from Walker Books Australia, so thank you, Walker. And the last book that I read in summer, literally finished this on like the last day of summer, and that was Every Last Word by Tamara Island Stone. This one I read pretty much half of in the Contemporaryathon, but I just didn't end up finishing it. This is one of the books that I had on my TBR for 2019, so I can tick that off my list now. I did really enjoy this book. I really liked the main character. Really loved seeing her grow and kind of find herself and find who she wanted to be. I really liked that. This book also has quite a big focus on mental health, as the main character has OCD. It felt a little bit predictable, but then there was this huge ass plot twist that I did not see coming. Like, what I also enjoyed about this book was the main character had a really positive relationship with her therapist, and I really, really liked that, because I find that a lot of YA books tend to kind of put therapy, like therapists and going to therapy, in like a very negative light, and obviously some people in real life will have negative experiences with a therapist, but other people will have really positive ones. and I don't often see positive portrayals of therapists and going to therapy in YA books, so I really loved that this one had a very positive portrayal of therapy, which was awesome. The romance was really cute. It was a little bit insta-lovey, but I mean, it happens. Overall, I gave this book 4 stars. I did really enjoy it. So they are all of the books that I read in summer. Let me know if you've read any of these books and what your thoughts were, if you enjoyed them, if you agreed with what I said about them. Please don't come at me for not enjoying Red Rising. Let me know what is some of your favourite books that you've read recently or read in summer. If you've read any new favourites or anything, let me know down below. Yeah, that's all for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and thanks again so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!